Hello, everybody. How is everybody doing today? Welcome back to the South Star Classroom. I am Charles. I'm one of your hosts, and we have the incredible Omar Yanar and David Castillo. Jubilee is out today. Before I get into today's story, which I'm really interested in hearing you guys' thoughts on, how y'all been, man? What's going on with you? Well, let's go with David first, since Omar's chewing.
Okay, no problem. We've been good. Let's see. Anything noteworthy to share? No, it just feels like, we're in that home stretch to get to the end of the school year. So that feels like it's coming pretty quickly. Work has been humming along, which is good. Got back into my regular routine, my sanity routine. Working out, walking, running, swimming, just running away and swimming away and walking away from all of my problems. It's great.
Oh, all right. Didn't Jon Stewart recently talk about running away from the darkness?
He probably did. Yeah, he probably
did. Indeed. In reference to one of the many fantastic folks in this administration. What up, y'all? Good to hear from everybody. Big shout out, Bill. We see you, brother. Things are picking up a little bit. So it's a weird time because we're finishing out the year, but this is about the time that we start planning next year and making sure that everything starts getting set. So we've got like simultaneous high school graduation, curricular output schedules, everything that we need to do for next year. While finishing this year out. But overall, man, like it's nice in El Paso right now. It's like 70 degrees, which is perfect. It's well appreciated before it gets to 187 degrees in El Paso, Texas. And you can literally fry an egg on the sidewalk. And a bunch of hullabaloo happens out here, you know what I'm saying? So all is well, man. Excited to get into the topic today. Doc, what's the word?
Man, the word is I'm working and about to be on the road again. I need to pack right after this and a little tired. Wasn't able to even get my hair cut. I got the hat on. So I'm going to be at this, probably with this business trip with a hat on the whole time, which is completely fine. It's all good. But I'm excited to be here. I'm with it. And let's make it happen. All right, well, let's jump in because we always run out of time. And we're not really going that much over an hour. So, I want to start off talking about something a little different today, fellas. I want to start off talking about a number. All right. That number is 75,000.
Oh, I definitely thought you were going to go with 6'7", Doc.
No. I was not. But I got you. I'm going to continue my monologue. But yeah, 75,000, that is how many students are no longer enrolled in California public schools this year. That's not just a district. That's not like a city. That's the entire state of California is down 75,000 students in a single year. The part that should probably bother you all the most is that we do analysis every year. The state does analysis and they predict how many kids we're going to lose, right? These analysis predicted that we would lose 10,000 students. They were off by 75,000 kids. That's 7 times what they expected. Now, the official explanation is 2 things. One was birth rates. They've been declining for years. A lot of MAGA people talk about birth rates decline and white supremacist stuff. It's kind of coming into fruition. But there are like just simply fewer like school-age kids. So that's 1, right? And then 2 is federal immigration enforcement has created just a ton of fear in enough households that families are keeping their kids home. they'd rather keep their kids home rather than risk it all. And they're not sending their kids outside. So because California funds, they fund schools based on how many students actually walk through the door. Fewer students, especially to this degree, means a lot fewer dollars, which means more schools will probably close, more programs will probably be cut, more staff gone. And I know that the union is getting a lot of wins around the place. These things that might end up coinciding with all of these raises at the same time that the schools are losing tons of money. So in communities that were already operating on a margin, it's just it can mean the end of that school or much larger school consolidation. So here's where I want to start today. And let's sit with this just for a little bit. When a child stays home because their family's afraid of immigration, or they're afraid of what the government might do to them or their family, is that an education crisis? Is it an immigration crisis? Is it both? And does the answer to that question actually matter? Depending on how you name it, if you change, who's responsible for fixing it? So I'm just curious, take all that in. I know that was a lot. I want to start with Davis, being that he's an educator from California, worked in that system, dealt with, declining enrollment, and now you got this behemoth. Let's go with your thoughts, and you up to battle.
Yeah, I think, and so the article just talks about California, so we'll focus on that. But there is a national trend also. I think it's both. I mean, I think it's definitely, let's see. We have, there's a clear demand for immigrant and migrant labor in our country, right? And where there is a demand, people will figure out a way to come here to fill that demand for a better life, right? So whatever it looks like to move your family from Central America, from Asia, from Mexico to, say, Oakland, San Jose, Los Angeles, Inland Empire, San Diego, wherever, to kind of live on the periphery, right? Kind of living in the shadows as undocumented peoples, not illegal, but that there's a big risk there. But people take that risk, and oftentimes that includes them bringing their children here, right? At no fault of their own. So I think when we talk about undocumented children in our public school systems, I think there's definitely an immigration issue, right? I think we need to fix our immigration systems. They're clearly broken. People, back in the 1940s, we had a program called the Bracero program, where we legally brought in labor from Mexico to work in the fields, to help with the labor effort here. But everyone knew who they were. They had licenses to come and work. And so, I mean, there's that component of it. But I also think it's a school issue. It's an education issue. Number one, because young people aren't, especially language learners, they're not in school receiving instruction, right, towards becoming literate. And then once they get older, kind of, learning the, in a perfect system, the entirety of the curriculum, right? And then, which includes social studies, literature, mathematics, sciences, all the other things that is happening in schools. But I also think it's an education issue because at some point, the school systems broke the trust of families, and the families, maybe getting to school and getting home is a risk, but it also feels like maybe schools didn't do enough to ensure that, once the children are in school, once they enter the gates of school, they're going to be safe from ICE or from immigration. So I think that's a systems issue in California.
Okay,
that's my opener.
I appreciate that. Go ahead, O.
Who's running these numbers? That's my first question. You know
Well,
what I'm
this
saying?
came
Like
from EdSource.
population, right? No. I don't not believe the 75,000. I'm wondering who in the Department of Education in California was like, we predict 10. And then all of a sudden it's 75. Like that's such an astronomical number to be so far away. And I gotta say, like, population decline, come on. Like we know that, we got that. You can't just be like, okay, population decline. We don't have this many preschoolers or kindergartners. We should have that pretty well calculated within population projections, particularly in California. Like, unless these people are like idiots, it has nothing to do with the population decrease. I think the population decrease in the United States has been going on, like most first world countries, at this, kind of predictable rate, right? Those numbers should be well attuned. I think that the extraordinary number isn't just immigration either. I mean, clearly that's something. I think that has a lot to do with the fact that, like, the scare of exposing oneself and just being out and about, especially when ICE is all over the streets and raiding schools and the crazy shit that they're allowed to do, which I frankly think is not allowable, is part of it as well. I actually think that this surprise number has to do with the fact that, like, kids just ain't showing up to school. They're tired of this shit. Parents are tired of this shit. They the judicial system doesn't have the bandwidth to deal with truancy. They're out. They're just stone cold out. And I don't know if they're doing homeschool, probably not, because they'd probably be accounted for if they were. I honestly think that this is more of a statement about what the shit is this even for. And when kids aren't going to school, the question is, well, what are they doing? The question is, okay, are they joining the workforce? Are they just at home chilling? Could be. I mean, kids ain't moving out of the house like they used to. It used to be you're 18, you're out of there one way or the other. You went to college, you got a job, you were happy for that kind of departure. And now I think, like, everything is radically shifted. So it's an interesting number, but I think it's false to presume that it's predicated only on declining population. I think that's silly.
Well, just to be clear, the article didn't just assign it just to that, right? It assigned it to a bunch of things. It assigned it to that as well. Also gave a lot of that smoke to immigration, a lot of that. So just for the record, for people watching, I'm glad you said that, Omar, because it allows me to clarify some things. So Hispanic students, who make up 56% of California student population, they had the biggest loss in student enrollment, but not the largest percentage. So just by sheer numbers, because it's more of them, Hispanic students dropped by 48,064, or 1.5%.
God, that's a ton, man.
But the white students dropped even more percentage-wise, almost double, at 2.7%, with 31,076 students. So it's a bit of it's multiple things. And I think the percentage of Black loss is probably it's probably significant, but there's so few of us in total numbers that we're not really hitting that scale, right? Like, so again, I've talked about my neighborhood that I grew up in North Oakland, that was all Black when I was a student there. Now it may be like 2 or 3 Black people that live there, with no kids who work in Silicon Valley and take the Google bus to work. Again, it just is what it is. It's not it's just, but thank you for that, so I could do that clarification. So you got brown and white are significantly dropping numbers in California. So I wanted to start with the focus on immigration, because I tend to skew towards Black issues, and I said I got brown brothers on this thing. Omar is every color of Oh, he gonna.
I got a lot of colors of the rainbow,
His
man.
Japanese
Mostly
is gonna come out
browns.
soon. You know what I'm saying?
Somewhere in there,
But
man.
brown
I love
is
it.
definitely in there, and I got some brown people in my family as well. You know that having cousins that grew up in Hayward would do that. So we got some little Blaxican cousins out here. You know, but I mean, it impacts all of us, and we call them Blaxican.
like
But but all of us, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? It impacts all of us, and so I just was curious. And that's why I wanted to start with you two, especially Dave, because he's worked there, he's seen it firsthand. And also, I don't know what it's looking like in Texas right now. So I'm just curious, if you were confronted with this type of issue, you know, what are you saying about it, Omar? Like, how are you responding if these numbers or similar types of sets of numbers came to El Paso? You know, how would you address it?
I think it comes down to the simple fact of like, what is this for? So, yes, it's really difficult, I think, to have the power just to address the immigration component, like, which we can in the best of our power, you know, ultimately doing the right things, informing parents about their rights, informing kids about their rights, ensuring that there's proper warrants and we're not going to be intimidated. In fact, I mean, El Paso is a bit of a funny city. We've got law enforcement in our high school, and they're protective of our students as well. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a community that values that camaraderie, if you will, that binational regional cooperative that we have. I think to answer the question is, you got to answer to kids and to parents, much like, you know, Bill's screaming for the mountaintops. Hey, this is the irrelevance. Like, we've got to adapt. We've got to not only adapt, but we have to shift radically what we're trying to do, because the kids got to feel like, well, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? Like, why am like, this is no longer like, this is super compulsory and I've got to go. Kids sitting here being like, what's in it for me? Parents are like, you know, like, we were promised something, we didn't get it. What's the big deal? And I will say this, on one end, I am 1,000% for ensuring that students know what's in it for them. And El Paso Leadership Academy is adapting, and I don't want to let some secrets out just before we let them out, but let's just say that we are going to very much shift how we're approaching education in the next 3 years, and it ain't going to look nothing like what it looks like today. And that's a good thing. We've got to adapt to how radical and how quick these changes are. But on the other end, you know, I was having a conversation today, and whether it's college or not, one thing that I want to make very clear is that I am worried about all of these studies that demonstrate that Gen Z has basically regressed as a population, meaning because of the technology, because of the lack of reading and cognitive work, Gen Z is the first generation, I don't know, since we've been documenting, that has regressed, that has done worse than their predecessors. So, you know, the silent generation, then the baby boomers have done better, and Gen X has done better, and the millennials have done better. And this is what we want for kids, right? Like, this is ultimately where we want to go. So on the other end, it's like, dude, there is something inherently valuable about the cognitive skills and the social skills learned at school, particularly in math and reading. And ultimately, like, one of the things that we're going to do is scale back immensely on technology. Every study out there is basically being like, dude, this has harmed us. And I get it, because if a kid's on a laptop and they're goofing off and doing whatever the shit, like, they're not learning. Like, it ain't happening. Whereas, like, you're putting pen to paper and having to do the cognitive lift, the reading and the writing, not because, hey man, I need to know algebra for whatever reason, which I think is actually imperative, but just the simple procedure of doing it all is actually developing neuro pathways. And like, I don't want to sound like every other pinchy talking head or all these buzzwords or these, you know, frankly uneducated morons out there using big words to sound like they know what they're talking about when they don't know shit. I'm just going to talk simply. When you use your brain, it's going to grow. when you're sitting there looking at bullshit on the screen, it ain't going to grow. So there's a use to that. The thing is, how are we getting kids not only into the school because we're making it worthwhile to them, but making it fun, exciting, and relevant? Because all this shit about like, well, like it's going to be on the test, or this is how it was, or this is the way it is. Like, as you said, 75,000 lost, Doc. And I got to tell you, if I was a kid these days, I'd be going to school because my parents would whip my ass. But I'd sit there and wonder, like, what's all this for? Like, what is all this for? What is this like leading up to? How are we differentiating things? And ultimately, like, you know, I was lucky enough to be a nerd and be like, man, I want to go to college because I love the idea of learning. I still love the idea of learning. But a lot of our families, Doc, David, you know better than anyone. It's like, dude, this has got to lead to something because we got bills to pay.
Yeah.
What are we looking at here? What are we looking at here?
I'm bringing up the numbers, so I just wanted to show by ethnicity and race, right? Like where things kind of fell. And I told you that number, that's 5,000 number, and Black that's a big number when you consider how many Black people actually live in the state and how many have moved out. I do think a lot of this is about a lot of people are moving out of California. Like I'm one of them, right? Like I love California. I still have business in California, but even with what I make and having a degree and no kids, I'm like, damn, I'm still not really enjoying my money. Like I don't, and if I was married or, something like that, it might be different, but it just, my money, I wasn't getting the bang for my buck. But then we look at English language learners, socioeconomically disadvantaged. Like it's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. It's really huge. And
those are big numbers.
So yeah, I just wanted to have it up on the screen while you guys were talking. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think there's two different conversations here, and I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I agree too.
I think especially in California, we are in desperate need. Like there's some innovative work happening in charter schools. There are some districts that are kind of leaning into innovation, modernizing, K-12 for the modern world. But literally, given the size of our state, the number of districts that we have, the size of the districts, it's like, oh, there's a school in Fresno Unified that we should all go visit because they're doing innovative pathways. Like one fucking school in a massive district in a massive state. I don't want to go to Fresno for that. Sorry, no.
Fresno's happening, baby.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling. So I agree with you.
I spent a lot of time in Fresno.
Yeah, okay. Well, I haven't, and I don't want
to. I feel you.
So,
it's cows. You'll see cows too. Oh, but
of course,
when we were good in basketball. Oh, when they were good in basketball
man.
too. Oh, big. But I got
you. But I'm looking at some of the shit. So there's a shift. I mean, kids are disappearing in that, like, the birth rate has slowed down. Yes. But if you think about California, like overall, there's obviously a big drop, but it's even impacting, like look at LAUSD, it's lost almost 17,000 kids. So families are moving from areas where, it's just expensive to live too. And so they're moving to other places in California. You see that in the growth of like these other districts, which are like kind of in the, center of California, central, away from the coast where it's expensive to live. And then a lot of families are moving, and whether that be like back, reverse immigration, or moving to Texas, Georgia, Florida, places where it's like way cheaper to live, especially for an immigrant family. It's incredible, man. People are like, yeah, we came out to Michigan and we like it here. I'm like,
David,
Michigan now.
When I moved here, I lived in it was a 96% Black city of Dalton. Yeah. Our Hispanic numbers are growing exponentially, exponentially. Yeah. And it's like even the like, and out here they say Hispanic. I hope nobody's like, annoyed with that. But even like in the Hispanic suburbs, they like, yo, we don't move, like we don't go over there. Like it's because Chicago's still the most segregated place in the country. So even here, we're seeing it, and it's shifting. It is shifting
Yeah.
big.
Yeah, there's a whole like kind of like cultural, like class thing happening in many parts of the country. I agree with you. It's always been like that. People have always moved around, right? We've had the Great Migration and this and that, and you know, it's like it's just part of like the change in the economy, the changing in politics, the changing cultural change, economic changes, all those things. But so now I'm back to, if I'm running a school system in San Francisco or in Oakland or in San Diego or in LA, what are the like, okay, we collected the data, we know where the kids are going, that's fine. We're gonna put together a task force to see what we can do to better understand why people are leaving and how we can change, you know, our approach to education to maybe keep more families here. Okay, that's fine. But the reality on the ground is that these districts are still running at the same scale with like schools that are like half filled. And in some cases,
and you can't do that.
In some cases, even, I mean, Oakland Unified has is an interesting example, because what's happening, and this is different in every system, but in Oakland, Omar, what's happening now is, you know, they're facing $100 million deficit. 100 million, right? Like, I don't even know how that happens, right? You would lose your job, like, bye-bye.
Dude, lose my job. 100 million. I mean, I've been like hunted down by like several people, dude, and beaten in the middle of the street, dude. 100 million. Bro, my deficit last year was like 80,000, and we were like panicking, and we like figured it all out.
It's crazy, dude. I mean,
100 million.
They always assume
that's like some like gold member shit.
It's wild, man.
Well,
they always assume there's going to be more money. So what do we need? So there's fewer kids. We're not going to shut down schools. So we just need more money. And on top of all of it, we're going to threaten to strike for that money during this crisis, right? That's what's happening right now in California.
They won. They already won. They got their they got it.
Right. And so, I mean, it's like fiscally completely irresponsible to continue to push money into a system that has never really demonstrably like been able to like show results for kids. You know, in the way, you know, we're talking in California, where like literacy rates are 30% on a good day, math even lower.
I'll tell you what.
And so in places like LA and Oakland and anywhere in California and all these places, the pressure then becomes the responsibility of the charter schools. And so now what's happening is, you know, charter schools are also struggling with enrollment, and like they're getting picked off one by one. We're probably going to lose like 4 this year alone in Oakland.
You're taking my thunder. This is what I was trying to
get. Okay, well, I'll back up then.
I like the thunder.
Let me set you up properly as you go.
Yeah. So I mean, bottom line is, I don't understand, like, from the level of I mean, I'll say it. Linda McMahon, right? She's like runs the federal Department of Education. to the desk of Gavin Newsom, to the desk of Tony Thurmond, who is the state superintendent of instruction, to Alyssa Castro,
my brother, continue. You know, I always got to show him. Go ahead.
The county superintendent, to Denise Sadler, who is the district superintendent of Oakland. Like, how they can get to sign off on these deals where their projected revenues are coming in so far under what they actually need, right? Massive structural deficits, but they like nothing happens. Everybody gets to keep their job. You got big high schools in Oakland that were made for 1,000 kids that have like
more than that. Made for more than that.
Yeah,
more than 1,000. Yeah,
you know, it's insane, Omar. If we went to Oakland and take you to 3 high schools, the big flagships, right, in the east,
right,
in Central, in North, in North, it's okay, but in West Oakland, McClymonds High School, you know, people are going to fight for that because their great grandparents went there, right?
I mean, Bill Russell went there. You know what I'm saying? Like the greatest, the greatest sports winner of all time went there. You know, so
but there's 200 kids at the school now.
It's supposed to hold 1,500.
200.
I have to look up.
And don't you dare raise the subject of
exactly.
Should we close the school?
Yeah,
they will run you out of town.
And so I want y'all to continue this. Just stick with me for a minute because and Dave answered a little bit of it, but for the audience, I will still put it out there, right? So they talk about how sometimes how charter schools are skewing the numbers in Sacramento. So Sacramento has a 9,700 student drop in enrollment in schools, a decline of nearly 4%, while Orange County had 7,500 that they lost, Santa Clara 4,100, San Diego 4,100, San Bernardino 2,500, and Ventura County 2,300 fewer students than last year. Wait, but despite the Sacramento's ranking as a county with the second largest loss, two of its districts were listed as having some of the highest enrollment growths. Elk Grove Unified grew by 1,100 students. My siblings went to Elk Grove, and my family moved out to Elk Grove Unified when my family moved out that way. But that's almost 2%, making its districts with the largest gains. Here's the thing. The disparity in Sacramento County seems to be the result of a large enrollment dip in Twin Rivers Unified, which lost 12,300 students. The same year, Highland Community Charter and Technical Schools laid off teachers and staff following a state audit, and that found that it did not have enough teachers with proper credentials. Let me give some color to this to people that don't work in our world. I worked in Oakland Unified School District. We had to do so many emergency credentials because we would not have been able to have enough adults in school buildings to teach kids, okay? There has been, we mentioned this earlier, that the state was kind of on this witch hunt against charter schools. And if the school was poorly performing as a charter, you are absolutely gone. But if you were performing well, they found other ways to circumvent and get you up out of there. One of them being the state audit and not enough credentialed teachers, which on its face sounds logical, right? It sounds, I worked in the district. I've worked with HR when we've had to we had to fast track, Omar. We had to fast track emergency credentials for uncredentialed teachers. So I just know we talked about that before. David, like I said, you kind of tackled that issue already. I don't know if you wanted to jump in there. If you want to finish your point, David, and Omar, you can jump in on the back end. And the next section, I'm leading off with you, O.
No worries, man. I'm listening. I'm having a good ass time.
I mean, it's interesting, right? I mean, it's pretty
fascinating because shit right now.
You said what?
I said California's in some shit right now. I mean, we're all in some shit right now, but like, it's sometimes, and I don't want to go off on a massive rant here. Like, I just wonder, is this like a fucking jobs program? But I mean, for the adults.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, like, I'm sick and tired of the teacher unions and everyone else making this shit about the adults and not about the kids, and everyone looking out for their own asses because, like, $100 million deficit, like, I can't fathom. Like, my stomach, I think, would explode. Forget about an ulcer. Forget about any kind of like stomach issues. It'd explode like that one. What was that movie? Aliens. Yeah. But yeah, please continue.
No, I think when I look at this, and if you looked at a map, I think that California is slowly leaving and moving to the center. I think people up north from the Bay Area are moving down to the center, to Central California. And I think people in Southern California are moving central. They're moving north to Central. So I think that's where Fresno continues to kind of come up in this conversation. Fresno is becoming a catch of LA people, of Bay Area people, of Stockton people. When you talk about, look, all these, Elk Grove had growth. Vacaville is in the Bay. Folsom Cordova is Sacramento County. Clovis is Fresno. I don't know where Placer is. I don't know if it's north, central, or south, but 4 of those are north to central. And you see a migration pattern. It's the same migration pattern that we took from Oakland to then Stockton and then deeper into Elk Grove. It's really
Go
expensive.
east, young man. Go east.
It's very expensive to live in the Bay Area. It's really expensive to live in LA. It's really expensive to live in San Diego. And then when you add in, that's for all constituents, but then you add in ICE. You add in like the school said they could protect us. They're not able to protect us. These people are doing a big show of it. I just think it's interesting. And it's not just the traditional schools. Private schools are losing a lot of their kids too. So, I mean, there are things we could probably point to, but we rarely have an issue where white and brown are in a similar boat for very different reasons, but in a similar boat. And it's just interesting. How do you start to dissect this problem? Because Gavin Newsom would say California is getting an influx of people. And I would say they absolutely are. It's just that those people tend to be childless. They tend to work in tech. They tend to be transient, or they tend to have a lot of money where they don't show up in any of this stuff. But Gavin Newsom has a population bleeding problem.
They're at they send their kids to the alt school or the alt school, right? What's that one that costs like $60,000?
Well, the other thing I forgot to mention, is that we did see an increase. We saw an increase in children with special needs, which would lead me to think maybe some parents have been reading tea leaves and said, you know what? I'm not getting what I need from my child. My child has a diagnosis, or we need to test my child. Because if you know how to run that system of special ed, if you know what you're doing, like I know that a lot of special ed kids don't get what they need, and we've had those conversations here. But if you meet a parent with a special ed kid that knows this system, you can get a lot of resources. And so I'm not surprised in seeing that there's a spike in kids with IEPs.
That's spot on right there. That's really I
would have if I had a child
observation.
And I could get them an IEP, especially in California, I would absolutely do it. I would absolutely do it. And the reason I would do it is because IEP document is law. Like there's ed law, but then there's IEP. IEP, you can negotiate shit in IEP that people don't know you can negotiate. I've seen people negotiate taxi rides, Uber rides. I've seen them negotiate all kind of special shit in there because schools don't want to be sued. And you definitely don't want to be sued while you're bleeding cash. So anyway, I'm taking thunder away from you guys.
Get your student, your child, an IEP with a diagnosis of other health impairment, OHI, and it just says child likes to daydream. That's it. They're good.
It's wild. It's wild. Let's get you in here, Omar, because again, I know this is very California.
I like daydreaming.
Exactly.
I know it's very California centric, but I think it has to be, right? In the sense of it has to be one of three places. It has to be California, New York, or Texas. Maybe Illinois, maybe. But only thing they care about in Illinois is Chicago. But those three states, if something this monumental happens, that's the only way that the nation kind of looks at it. So, you know, from your perspective as a leader in Texas, I mean, not, but as your leader, from your spot as a leader, what are you like? How are you kind of taking in this data? Like in the data points of the white, the brown, the black, the rise in special needs kids, they're leaving private schools and charters and traditionals. Like, where are they going?
We've got a lot of shit happening right now. I think just in terms of like what we're looking at on the screen and statistics. So just to kind of break down a few things that are going on in my head. One, I thought you brought up a really good point, Doc. There's a lot of people coming into California, but the amount of money that you need to come into California is absolutely massive, right? So I look at these school districts that are growing in California, like, yeah, no shit. And I look at the school districts that are losing people, like, no shit. Although, like, you know, I guess everyone's already gone from San Francisco Unified, man, because that should be a school district.
But they got rid of black people first, for the record.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like just bleeding out at the gills in terms of people. That's already a problem because those school districts in California that are growing, what you're looking at is people moving to a more affordable place where they can actually have a home, where they can have some space, where they're not, you know, killing themselves to pay rent or to pay for a house. That's why you're losing so many people in LA and all these other places. What's interesting is that a lot of people from California that are looking for that kind of situation, like more home, more space. They got kids, they want to raise them somewhere else. Those folks are coming to Texas. So they're
I was gonna
moving
say that.
into DFW, they're moving into Austin. I was looking at this map recently, Doc. It was bonkers. And
Yeah.
I gotta find it again.
Texas
It
and
was this-
Arizona have taken on probably the most Californians
Yeah.
in the last few years.
Oh, yeah.
Illinois has
And-
taken on a lot of Californians. There's a lot of former California people that live around me.
Straight up. And like, New York to a certain extent as well. It's just like there's this kick-ass map that I saw, and I had to double check it because I was like, no way. And oh yeah, they did this map where they showed a blob. It was like a tiny blue dot, and it was DFW. So the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex area. And then it was like states with less population. There are 34 states, 34 out of 50, ladies and gentlemen, that have less population than where DFW is right now. So that area is
Yeah.
blowing up, and schools are growing all over the place. And like Houston can't grow schools enough in the suburbs, although Houston proper is losing. So you still kind of have this interesting suburbanization. So what's interesting is that you've got an urbanization where you said like rich, single, childless couples are moving in to the urban areas, and they've got the cash to be able to handle that. Folks with kids, they moving out to Texas. They are still moving out to the suburbs. They're expanding out because home prices have gotten so astronomical. What that means is that these school districts, like, where are these kids? Like I said, it's this confluence of situations. And I think everyone's like, well, it's population decrease. That is just horseshit. What a dumb fucking proposition. Like anyone on a school district that has the gall to tell me that they could not predict a population of kids coming into their school district because of the quote decrease in population is either the dumbest human being and can't read basic population projections, or it's just a politician and full of bullshit. And I would probably go with
But I think that's the argument. I think the argument, but I don't think you're wrong. But I think the argument is that the experts who normally are right within what a fraction of a point, like this one of the first times they're getting it wrong, right? I mean, I think
those are the same experts that predicted Hillary Clinton was going to win the presidency.
I don't think so.
It's so-called experts.
I think it's a different group, but I do think there where there's smoke, there's fire, and what I will give you credit for, is I think for Gavin Newsom, it is not a good look for him to be bleeding people. And
no, hell no.
I think that they probably did hear rumblings of these numbers, and I think that somebody was probably like, keep that shit quiet, bruh, until you can.
Exactly.
And so that's what I think. But David, you were gonna jump in there.
Yeah, I think if you're going to lose student counts in any state, the next question should be like, okay, how are you addressing it? And California is clearly not addressing it. I'm just looking up some of the Texas numbers. Very similar numbers coming out of Texas, but California's had like a multi-year trend of declining enrollment, and Texas is just starting.
Just started.
So Texas,
Chicago starting. Chicago might be in the middle of those two.
Yeah, Texas also saw about a 76,000 student year-over-year negative change.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got Florida, you've got Georgia that are on the upswing. I'm looking at state level data. Colorado is starting to decline. So people are moving around, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And I think people are moving to the middle of the country or moving to these outskirts. So, I know
in big states like California and Texas, they're staying maybe within the state. Some are leaving.
Yeah, just moving out to the outskirts.
Some are going from Houston to Dallas, or they're going from California to, or wherever. It's actually, I mean, it's actually not an education issue. It's like an economic issue.
I think it's yeah,
It's
and
fascinating.
that's why we asked the question. And I think it's a little bit of both because I think more Californians were transient inside of the state, but it's starting to get ridiculous anywhere again. So if you went from San Francisco to Oakland, and then from Oakland to Tracy, and then Tracy to Stockton. Now Stockton is starting to be more and more expensive than it's ever been.
Yeah.
Then you go out to Merced or Modesto or whatever. I will tell you though, I do think that they knew because the UC built UC Merced within the last 20 years. I think they knew.
Smart move.
I think they knew more people were moving out there. And listen,
and you know what the fastest growing UC is now in California?
Merced.
No, it's not. It's
not Merced.
It's
It's Riverside.
It's UC Riverside.
Urban.
It's Riverside. I knew it was Merced. So I used to work with the college board. So I used to like the way that the UC used to do it for people that don't know, like the CSU. We want to keep Californians in California. So you get, if you have a certain GPA, you're promised in the CSU, but you're also promised if you qualify for a UC to get in the UC. Now here's the rub. They built another school because that don't mean your ass is getting into Berkeley or UCLA or Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
You're not getting into Santa Barbara. You can try Santa Cruz and you can try Merced and you can try Riverside. If you want to be out SoCal, you can do Riverside. This Barbara, this LA is closed up, right? So again, I think a lot of more people in the country are moving to the middle of the country. And I know Bill was being a little facetious when he said, what about Joliet? Joliet is considered Chicagoland. So for those that don't know, it's like LA. You got LA proper, and then there's like 80 fucking cities around it. Like it's still it's LA like land. So I live in Dalton, which is by Harvey, which is by Joliet. All of that is considered Chicagoland. If you're talking about Chicago proper, you say Chicago proper. But Chicago proper is losing people. They are bleeding students as well, whereas these outskirt places are starting to grow. And we have, and the thing about Dalton, which is interesting, and listen, when the Hispanic people here have a strategy. I know my neighbors. There's 10 of them living in that house. There's another house that's about to come open. Some of them are going to move to that house, get more people. And then they're smart in how they do it. They're smart. Their family is here. Their family is by them and they got the neighborhood. Right. And I think that you can't be mad at and this is a group. This is the other thing. These are California Hispanics. They're not Midwest Illinois Hispanics. Why is that important? Again, Illinois, all the Illinois groups here that are from this area of Chicago, we all follow the racial rules. If you Italian, you know the towns you can move into. You're going to be around Cicero or something like that. If you are Polish, you're going to move by the Poles. If you are Cuban, you moving by the Cubans. California, West Coast brown people don't give a fuck, okay? Like they are like, where can I get in? Where can I get in? And the thing is that there are so many opportunities out here to do work with your hands. We have a bunch of local handymen around. So a local handyman works on my home. A local handy person does my grass. A local handyman does our snow. And they get in and they have a plan. And so you can't be mad at it. I used to live in Kentucky. There was only black and white. Go to Kentucky now.
Yeah.
It's different.
Yep.
He's just like Bill likes to attack people.
Bill Conrad is going after John Giese was.
I know John, man. Is it about the iPad?
He was the LAUSD superintendent, and he got. He's known for the.
It was the iPad thing.
Strong reform agenda, but also like the iPad controversy.
It blew up in his face. Yeah,
they bought these iPads from Apple, and they sent them home with all the kids. This is a long time ago. And they didn't have a good management system on them, an inventory system. And they just, they all ended up, for sale out of your Theo Chewy's car on Figueroa Boulevard. Right. That's what happened.
And that's why Chromebooks are so ugly. And that's why Chromebooks are so cheap and ugly.
Yeah, man.
I'm not even mad. And I wasn't even mad at DC about that. I thought that he was trying to give kids an opportunity and do stuff. And you can't. Hey man,
it's funny. He's got that tech controversy, and then this Carvalho, who we haven't even had a show on him.
Okay,
that dude just disappeared. Right, the last LAUSD superintendent, who apparently had some kind of tech deal with some AI company or whatever, and he's gone. Right.
I mean, and so there's. I mean, I think this is a good show, and I know that we don't have resolutions per se, but again, these are the other impacts of all this stuff coming together in merging in a perfect storm. It is an academic issue because again, a lot of people did try homeschool, and a lot of people were like, fuck this shit. A lot of people saw and heard when COVID happened and homeschooling and virtual schooling was happening, and they heard these teachers with their own ears, and they were like, A, I'm never sending my kid back to these people again, and B, if that person is the teacher, I might as well give it a shot. I might as well. We have seen sustained growth in the homeschooling market, correct?
Yeah, it's still kind of a drop in the bucket.
But, homeschooling. Yeah. I mean, it's a drop in the bucket now, the same way charters was a drop in the bucket 25 years ago. I mean, you got to start somewhere. And with the democratization of and democratization is kicking my ass as a word, but with the democratization of technology, of access to stuff, of AI, when you can listen, now somebody can write you up an AI program, or David at home can be like, here's the stuff that I know. My kid is in 7th grade. I need a 7th grade algebra course for my kid that fits. And you know what? He can get jiggy with it, and he can say something like, I want him to do problems directly in here so you can adjust based on where his proficiency is. I mean, that's kind of hard to beat, especially if you don't trust that schooling system anymore. You don't know where you're going to live. You don't know if you got to pack up and leave. You don't know if everybody in California is one accident away. They're one financial tragedy away, and California costs too much money, man. You can't expect people to pay all that money to live in my beautiful Oakland that I love to death, and then there's homeless people on every other street. It does not. It's not computing. I can't pay $4,500 rent, and then y'all can't fix this homeless crisis. Oh yeah, by the way, David and Omar, where'd all that homeless money go? Has anybody asked that? Is that you can't ask about the home. There was like a bill. What was it? Like $1 billion that was like earmarked for the homeless community to build some stuff, and I think it just disappeared. I don't want to spread misinformation. If somebody can fact check that for me, but all this stuff, it happened, man. It happens. It's definitely happening. So I know I'm getting us out of here on time, man. Thank y'all. I know it's a pretty heady topic, but I just felt like it was important. I think it was important for our community to know. I think that I think if it's happening in California at this scale, I think that means it's happening everywhere. And it's impacting these places they're just not big enough to cover. Everywhere just doesn't have an ed source that's focused on this stuff like that. But as we wind down, Omar, you get right of refusal, brother. Do you want to have your closing thought first, or before or after the beard of knowledge?
Oh, I'll be quick because I got to bounce for a couple of things. And I'll just say, I wonder if these $100 million deficits and these issues have anything to do with politics, with voting, with people losing jobs, with, or trying to kind of keep these communities together. I think there's a lot more at play here. So I enjoy Bill saying it's a very multifaceted show, like it was. Dude, there's a lot of variables in here. People moving, people going to homeschool, the immigrant situation, population decline, dissatisfaction with large schools and large school districts, pricing, population movement across the country, not just within the state. And I got to tell you, it all boils down to, if you give the kids and the families something that is worth it to them, that will add value to their lives, that they care about, that they're excited about, you will see them. This is a testament to the fact that there's a lot of broke-ass schools, a lot of people who do not have the capability of innovating and changing the face of education to keep up with the times. And you're seeing people flee and $100 million deficit as a result. Gentlemen, I got to go. I will talk to you all soon.
Have a good one, boss. Have a good one.
Peace.
David, it's on you.
Take care, Omar. I think so. A couple things. Number one is again, like focusing in on Oakland Unified. And I'm sure other California districts might try something similar, but one way they're looking to balance their budget due to declining enrollment is to slash their central office, right? Like to the bone. And you just can't do that. If you're running a big system, you need central office to like manage services, right? And so I would just recommend it has to be a more balanced approach of like tightening your portfolio. OUSD still runs 80 schools. They probably need like
It should
50.
be like half that, bro. It should
Half
be like
that,
just
yeah.
above half that, man. Like,
yeah, because they're what happens is in small schools, due to declining enrollment, doesn't matter the reason, your school's declining, is you have to start cutting the programming that you can offer kids.
mhm.
We're dealing with it right now at our school. We're advocating to keep our band programs alive. So we're like living it. It's like a real deal. And if we lose the band program, like we're out of the school, period. So I think our education leaders need to be way more creative, student-centered, not adult-centered, and more proactive about taking action. With these issues that are not going to go away, they're just going to get worse. That's number
Man.
one.
Oh, go ahead.
Number two is when I was a high school teacher, this is probably like 20 years ago now, we did what's called like a cross curricular collaboration, where I would collaborate with different other subject area teachers on a project. So we did project-based learning. And so every year we had a project. I think it was the 11th grade year. We did an immigration unit, and the students were reading a book called Enrique's Journey in English. The book came out about 25 years ago. It's about a young kid that took the train of death from Central America all the way through Mexico to the US, right? Read the book, and in history class, we would study immigration patterns. And then what we did is we worked with our students to have them interview a family member, a parent, an uncle, an elder, a community member about their immigration, an immigration experience that they had. And then they took the interview, and they interviewed people. They wrote it up. It was beautiful. We turned them into podcasts. I still have them. I have like 40 podcasts on my computer. They put music to it, depending on, whether, whatever the appropriate music would be. Most of them were from Mexico or Central America, but a lot of them were from like Louisiana and Mississippi to Richmond, or Texas to Oakland, right? During the Great Migration, right? But all of the stories had the same thread, which was, whether it was within the US or from outside of the US to in the US, families were moving their children for a better life, period.
Absolutely.
Universal theme. So when we talk about, demographic shifts here and there, just remember, like behind every number that we talked about today, like there's a real family and a real story of why, they're making the choice, whether it be by force or not, to relocate. So,
man, I thought that was beautiful. I appreciate everybody for the show. I don't know if my camera's skipping on your end. Hopefully in the re-air.
Your audio's great. Your camera's a little skippy.
That's fine. It'll upload from my end, hopefully. If not, no worries. But here's the thing. I think I like these type of topics. I like topics that it's education, but it's bigger than that. It's politics. It's the repercussions of these things and things that we had talked about and things that people didn't think would matter. It is there, even in this, is debunking some of the strategies that's been used to close really good charters. And I just want to tell people watching, closing good charters no longer automatically equals a return to traditional schools. Some of these parents, you're closing down the school that they like. You're thinking that they're going to be forced to go back to that traditional school to raise those numbers, and they choosing homeschool, or they going somewhere else. What if there was a world where, I don't know, these schools work together? And you mentioned cross-cultural. I thought you were going to hit on my point. I'm thinking of that in a larger I think that should happen between traditional and charter school. I think you should build an ecosystem that allows for a special type of education that only you can get in that area. So you stay in the area. Like I should be able, we talked about this in Oakland. Oakland is very good at producing professional athletes for being so small. It's not New York, it's not LA, it's not Chicago, yet we have per capita probably more Hall of Famers in sports than we should. Like, what if a kid could go to a tech for the MESA program, for that math program, but then go to McClymonds for their sports medicine program at the same time? Yep. Like, what does that look like? Or what does it look like? Or what if charter schools were able to be these things that we call lab schools, where they're embedded inside of a traditional school, but they are running specific tests. They are running different types of education to see what holds on. Oh my God. Doesn't that sound like a novel idea? For people out there that don't know, I'm being sarcastic. That was the original purpose of charter schools, was to be able to be experimental with education. I just say that to say, keep your eye on this stuff. This is an interesting topic. But I appreciate y'all for sticking in there with me for what I think was a really great episode. I just had a conversation and interview by Dr. Steve Perry. That's on his Instagram page and Energy Converters Instagram page. So take a look and go check that out if you haven't. David, what else you got? Are you working on? I just want to make sure I want to promote y'all stuff. We got to do a better job of it.
Good for now, man. I'm good for now. Yeah, I got nothing to promote really, other
Still
than the
consultant,
show.
right?
And,
well, he's a consultant, and if you got education,
oh
questions, yeah. That's all. Yeah. That's all part of promotion. Omar,
yeah, we're getting busy right now. I'll tell you that we're about to expand, so more to come on that.
That's good. I love it, man. I love it, and Jubilee is running her thing as well. With that being said, man, thank you all for tuning with us. For Jubilee and Omar, that's David. I'm Charles. We'll see you all next week, same bad time, same bad station. Actually, I might be traveling, but I'll talk to y'all offline on that. But at any rate, you all stay safe, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. This is the South Star Classroom. We'll see you next time. Peace out.